Before I start my silly nonsense, let me say one last hail, Theoden King, ride to ruin, and the world's ending. Thank you for everything, Bernard Hill. Our heroes are dying too fast. So last time I did some hot takes as a way to say goodbye to Toriyama Sensei, and it ended up being my most popular video, which granted isn't saying a lot, but it is indeed a huge jump for me since a lot of people clicked on it and quite a few people watched it. This week I put a little poll into the community tab, and it turns out that everyone hates my analysis of Western media, which is fine. I'm not sad. And you know what? Let no one say I'm not a slave to the machine.
If that is the way the winds are blowing, let no one say I don't also blow.
This time, with a more cheerful attitude, let's jump into some more Dragon Ball explanations and hot takes, and I'm going to add a little bit of Naruto because someone requested that. But before that, a few small things. One is the next episode of Dungeons & Dragons Godfall is coming out probably next week. So for the 10 of you that watched that, the next one is coming soon. We just had the live broadcast last week, and wow, it was a lot of fun. If you want to see a goblin nearly decapitate an elf and then get headbutted to death, you won't want to miss this one. But please remember to subscribe and like the video if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, Dungeons & Dragons, or just me as a person. And share this video with your friends, because everyone needs a little bit of nerdy in their lives. Without further ado, editor me, hit the intro. It's like saying, I'll take you somewhere with authentic American home cooking, and then taking you to Denny's.
Stop talking now? Yeah, you bet.
The game is the same as last time. I rated r/DBZ and grabbed some questions and opinions, and I'm just going to talk about them. I tried posting the last video to the RDBZ subreddit, and it got deleted immediately. So, I mean, I tried, you know. I think I'm probably not going to try again because I don't want to get banned from the subreddit. And if that's how they're going to be, I mean, you guys can just find it. But I will credit the Redditors who submitted the questions, and you'll see the screen caps on the screen. So here we go. The first question from user Hawaii Koto. If Frieza never really trained before Namek Saga, how did he know how to fight and use so many abilities? Not asking about his power level, but about his ki and hand-to-hand combat abilities. I feel like this is a good one to start with. There's very little we know about Frieza's race in general. I think it could entirely be possible that they're born with innate ki and combat knowledge, because we've seen that this isn't unusual, since the Saiyans and Namekians seem to have innate knowledge of ki and combat, really. Moreover, it's not like Frieza's skill in terms of fighting or ki control are particularly powerful. And I don't mean raw power. He definitely has raw power. I mean, looking at his skills. The most interesting thing that he does is the Tsuiseki Kienzan, the tracking spinning pizzas. And he only does that after seeing Krillin do it. He's also notably the only victim of Krillin's Kienzan in the entire series. It hits Cell, but that doesn't count because it does nothing. I would actually argue that Frieza shows a lack of skill, since someone as weak as Nappa was able to evade the Kienzan for the most part. But after only a few years of training in Hell, he was able to control Golden Frieza, which is a God Ki level transformation, and he did that with relative ease. and he's able to do the key cage that he used to beat Dispo and Gohan. Granted, he's not able to do it for very long, which I think would point towards a lack of general training. We've seen Frieza's flaw is that he learns something or learns about something and then immediately assumes he can master it. Which, I mean, mood. But yeah. In terms of martial arts, I don't know that his skills are really that great, especially among fighters. And of course, he's, way better than anything I could do or whatever. He's black belt level in several things, but it seems like whenever he's in a raw physical one-on-one with anyone, he comes out on the losing end. Someone might want to correct me about this in the comments, but if he doesn't have superior key shielding or strength, he generally can't win a one-on-one fight. I do want to note, just to be clear, that I say this, and Frieza is my absolute favorite Dragon Ball villain. I just know that he has strengths and weaknesses, and his weaknesses are his attitude and his physical skill compared to the other fighters. It's also really fun to watch him get bodied. Watch.
What are you doing? I am the mighty Lord Frieza!
See? Alright, next question. From user Sticky Trackpad. Shouldn't Piccolo have left Gohan's tail on? During the Saiyan saga, preparing for the Saiyans, they need any advantage they can get. Their top two barely beat one weak Saiyan. During training, Gohan goes ape, destroying mountains with ease, playing around almost. Piccolo destroys the moon, which I get. Gohan had to be stopped, but why rip the tail out? It grows back later, I know, but did Piccolo know that? Might want to leave the potential of the tail in case, right? And the easy answer to this is that the tail, or the Ozaru transformation, is an X factor. And in a fight like this, you cannot have things you can't count on. I'm not going to pretend that Piccolo was, secretly doing it to protect Gohan or anything, because he didn't really care about him at that much at that point. But there are too many unknown things about leaving Gohan's tail attached. He wasn't sure if the Saiyans would land during a full moon. That information came much later. He wasn't sure if it was possible to control the Ozaru transformation. That information came much later. He ultimately wasn't certain, or couldn't have been certain, if creating an Ozaru on the battlefield would cause more help than harm, and he knew it would cause havoc, which is something that someone like Piccolo wouldn't want to plan around in a battlefield. Piccolo has no sense of humor, and he's really not much for monkeying around. Next question. User Weird Bryce Guy. Goku's refusal to use Super Saiyan 3, setting aside the real-life issue of animating the hair. I find it hard to believe that the alleged stamina drain is so massive that he can't master it to this day. So I do imagine that the actual reason is probably the animating of the hair. You gotta hire hair specialists, and they're not cheap. But I actually think that Super Saiyan 3 wasn't... Setting aside that Toriyama Sensei was flying by the seat of his pants with everything, and only made Super Saiyan 3 because he forgot that Super Saiyan 2 existed, I don't think that Super Saiyan 3 was really made to be used, but rather made for the same reason that the Ultra Super Saiyan transformation and the Scouter were introduced. And that is to show that raw power isn't always going to win in fights. You need to have skill, and in a series like Dragon Ball, you need to have camaraderie. You need to have things like fusion or working together. The Spirit Bomb is a huge example of that, right? What's more than that, and we see that by the time Battle of the Gods comes out, he has mastered it to an extent. And he was willing to use it against Beerus when he felt like he had no other choice. Now, of course, it proves to be futile because Beerus is not going to fuck around with a Super Saiyan 3, but he still generally seems to find value in it. The proof of that is that he's willing to show it to Caulifla. If he really saw no value in it, he would do what Vegeta did when Trunks mentioned it and just beat the shit out of him. Look at this. And people say Goku's the bad dad. Next question is two questions at once. So user Red Zone Broly says, why did Perfect Cell never use the Kaio-ken? Missed opportunity for him to use a Kaio-ken level so high that it starts to break his body apart, only for his cells to automatically recover at the same rate resulting in a free power boost and massive red aura. Cool. And user Infant Punter 9000. Is that a series? Like, was there an Infant Punter 8000 and someone was like, "You're just not cutting it, kid"? Anyway, user Infant Punter 9000 says, would it be possible for the Kaio-ken to be stacked with any form of Ultra Instinct, like what was done with Super Saiyan Blue? By forms, I'm talking about Sign, True, and Mastered and Perfect. In my opinion, Mastered Ultra Instinct would probably be impossible because of the whole mindset thing, but we've seen with True Ultra Instinct and some form of Sign Ultra Instinct, so it could be possible with either of the lesser forms. What do y'all think? Perfect Cell using Kaio-ken would be like Ultra Ego Vegeta using Kaio-ken. Cell is obsessed with his own perfection, and I do not think he had any of the spatial awareness of his own body. In fact, I think that a lot of fans of Dragon Ball kind of simplify Kaio-ken in general. Because remember, it was supposed to be the form before forms became forms. It's probably the hardest form to do in all of Dragon Ball because it requires such intense focus and oneness with yourself in order to magnify what your body is capable of. It's like I've recently gotten into Jujutsu Kaisen, and it really reminds me of the Black Flash, except if you're able to do it constantly and on purpose. I think a lot of fans treat it as something you can just do, but really it's been impressed within the series that it's not. Goku revolutionized the technique. Even Kaio-sama, who created it, could only do ×2 or ×3 at most. And the reason why I stack these two questions together is because I don't think you can simultaneously let go of all focus at once and purely focus at once. I don't know if there's an official name for the version of instinct that Goku uses during the Granola Saga. That's just in the manga so far, so sorry for spoilers. But I think I kind of want to call it like selfish instinct, because it really is a type of using instinct for your own purposes rather than letting the body work out on its own. And I think that would be the closest that you can get to stacking instinct with Kaio-ken, because there's a kind of ebb and flow to that type of power, which really reinforces the Eastern style of some kind of like meditative combat, like remaining one with the universe and holding out for your shot until you need to take control by force. Some kind of dance like that would be really cool to see Goku do in the future, but I'm not entirely sure what Toyotaro Sensei has planned. Having said that, I think the idea of Cell using an extreme level of Kaio-ken that almost destroys his body is a really cool concept, and I found a quick fan edit of it. There it is. Next, we have user Motherfucker20, which again, I think there was probably a Motherfucker 10 and a Motherfucker 5 before, right? You just have to get in line. Who asks, who has a higher fighting IQ, Goku or Vegeta? And says, I might be a little biased, but I say Vegeta. Just how he was able to see the dangers of Krillin's Destructo Disc, the way he analyzes a fight, the way he was able to learn to suppress his power level, the list goes on. And I really like this question, but I think everyone always assumes that the answer is Vegeta. In my opinion, the actual answer is both of them. Vegeta has a higher fighting intelligence, and I think Goku has a higher fighting wisdom. They're two different skills applied very differently. Like, Vegeta can see a spinning razor blade of energy and know not to touch it. I'm not going to take that away from him. It was the first time anyone had seen any skill like that, and he was able to identify the true danger of it. But Goku has a unique ability to take the techniques that he learns from others and amplify them to their extreme or even to their limit. I mean, look at the first time we saw Master Roshi do the Kamehameha. He had to power up to his, muscle form, and it was a massive, there was almost a dance before he did it, right? And then Goku just did it after watching it once. He could also, when he was a child, charge up a Kamehameha and then cancel it without wasting energy, which I personally feel like is understated, because to reintegrate ki back into your body is probably pretty special. he fires a Kamehameha from his feet. He prepares 3 Kamehamehas underwater and then fires each of them individually in order to surprise Frieza. And we know that doing something like that isn't easy because of the effort that it took Yamcha to do with 1 when he created the Sokidan. And I'm not going to go into a Yamcha joke, but there's one there. And it's not just like Goku is the master of stealing the Kamehameha. He learned to utilize the Kienzan to a level that even surprised Krillin, right? With the Renzoku Kienzan hidden within each other, which is some Naruto level shit. And please see above what I said about him mastering the Kaio-ken more than Kaio-sama himself. I mean, having said that, Vegeta has kept up with him at every stage, you know, maybe trailing behind a little bit because he's Vegeta. And then at the end of Superhero, you know, spoilers, but he finally beat Goku in just fist to fist. At the same time, when Goku gets mad, he is able to, you know, remain calm and I say calm, but remain in control. Whereas anytime Vegeta gets angry, his answer is to fire off energy about it. And that always works. But I think it's not about who's got a higher fighting IQ, but it's about how they apply their intelligence. And next, user Tyler MV91 had some random Dragon Ball shower thoughts. Says, love everything about DBZ, and I hope he meant DBS, but just BS. And last night I couldn't sleep thinking about a couple of questions I'm hoping some of you can answer for me. Number 1, is Gohan's beast form a Saiyan thing, a human thing, or a mutation thing? If it's a human thing, could Yamcha or Krillin achieve beast? If it's a Saiyan thing, could Goku or Vegeta achieve it, and could they combine it with their god forms? To answer that one, I think Beast Gohan is just Gohan. I don't think we'll ever get an explanation further than that, and frankly, I don't think we need one. Toriyama Sensei mentioned that it's the awakened beast inside of him, and cool, you know. Considering unique forms like Ultra Ego and whatever Goku did with Mordo, I think it's perfectly fine for us to not have an explanation for everything. His second question is Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego a form or a skill? If it's a skill, could weaker opponents like Yamcha or Krillin learn it? Would like Super to be not such a Saiyan-oriented show, and was pumped when Piccolo achieved a new form, and because we need more Z fighters back in action. So we know that anyone can learn Ultra Instinct, right? It's technically a skill, or maybe more of a way of life, since Roshi is said to have been close to achieving it, according to, you know, the manga, right? But what you do with it, I think, takes it to a form, right? Whereas, you know, Goku mastered it and turned it into his own thing, and, you know, Goku's gonna Goku, essentially. Question 3 was, why does Frieza stay in his 4th form? And if Gold and Black are stronger forms, why doesn't he stay in those? Are they forms or skills? Energy conservation. Easy as that. Frieza's weakness so far has been energy conservation. I talked about it a little bit before, right? 4. Why do Frieza's transformations get so lazy? His first 4 are so creative, and then he just color changes. Is there a reason for this? I do not like this question, and I reject the basis of it. I think you're wrong. The changes are him suppressing power and are different from the actual forms he takes due to powering up. They're designed to be frightening, and they're designed to be homages to different media, right? Like there was the one that was obviously an homage to Alien and stuff like that. I don't think they were meant to be anything more than that. It's just when you make something like that, you have to deal with the aftermath of it. Plus, why do Dragon Ball fans call things lazy? Our transformations are just hair. I mean, come on. Number 5, why can Gotenks go Super Saiyan 3, but Trunks and Goten are stuck at 1? And did Gotenks skip 2? And does their ability to go Super Saiyan 1 at such a young age hinder their ability to get stronger because they seemingly rarely train in their base forms? Or would that make them stronger in the long run? Gotenks is a child. I feel like we forget that. He's 10, maybe 10. And when you were 10 and playing pretend, you didn't pretend to be almost as strong as you could be. You pretended to be the best. And that's what he's doing. He's just got the might to back it up. So we saw him planning, you know, pretending that he couldn't beat Super Buu, and then like it was all it was literally all a show for Piccolo. But the reason he didn't go through the stages is it wouldn't have been as dramatic to a 10-year-old, right? It's literally like, oh no, I'm dying. Oh no, I'm actually the best. And as for why Trunks and Goten don't take training as seriously, it's because there's no reason for them to do so. They didn't grow up in the same do or die situation that Gohan did. For Gohan, being strong wasn't an option. It was a survival necessity. So he did. And the real question we should be asking is, why does everyone get up Gohan's ass for wanting to be a scholar, but fans don't get mad at Goten and Trunks for going to school? Like, let Gohan be a kid. His childhood was basically robbed from him. So next one is an actual hot take of mine, I think. One that I haven't really shared with anyone, so let's see who actually listens to these videos. User Nexi801 says, how do you guys feel about DBZA's, that's Dragon Ball Z Abridged, prevalence in community discourse? Preface. I, like most of you, love DBZA. It brought back some life into the series during its lowest period and definitely added a ton of fans. But what I don't like is that there are people who've literally never watched or read the original, and the DBZA specific commentary has entered the meta-narrative about DBZ and actually become part of the zeitgeist surrounding the series in some ways. See Papa Piccolo. Edit, too long didn't read. People keep forgetting that even though TFS agrees, references aren't funny. And also they did Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's transformation the best out of everyone. So first, references are a base form of humor. References are how we as humans connect to each other. When I say tree, you only know what I'm talking about it because we're both making the same reference to what a tree is. References are funny. And anyone who says that they aren't is trying to be a cynic. References that don't grow on comedy are not funny, right? If I just say The Office, well, it's not a joke, right? But, you know, that's going on a tangent. We'll get to that later. My feelings on Team 4-Star are kind of complicated because they gave us a lot of really good content, and for fans, they kind of tapped into what Toriyama had never had time to do with some of the characters' emotions and things like that, because it's a shonen anime and, you know, you got to push chapters, right? I would say that the 3-part, the 60th episode of Dragon Ball Z Abridged is some of the best media that YouTube has ever produced. By that, I mean, you know, some of the best media that's ever come out on YouTube. It is interesting how much of that fans clung to over the truth of things. Like, a lot of the jokes about Goku being a bad dad are really just Westerners not understanding family in the Japanese dynamic. And then seeing Vegeta as a good dad because he hugged his son once, took him to the amusement park, and then blew himself up for his son. I think that tells us a lot about what we think parents are. And, you know, the Papa Piccolo thing where it's obvious that Piccolo has a relationship with Gohan, right? That they were there for each other a lot, but given their age difference, I think it's more like a big brother than being his surrogate father. Those were things that people kind of already thought were true. DBZA just made it a little more prevalent in the community. In reference to Dragon Ball Z Abridged, everything after Cell is really tarnished their reputation for me. And it's because there was a big thing of, you know, were they going to come back and finish the series? Were they not? And they said, yes, they were going to come back and finish the series. And then they decided not to. I know the reason that they gave is that they weren't as connected with the Buu saga and such. And to an extent, it's understandable. They had to fight Toei and Fuji TV pretty much each episode getting torn down or demonetized, and they weren't getting paid for this project. But I still feel like they had the opportunity to do something brilliant and finish the series, and instead we waited an extra 5 years, and then we got Boo Bits. And some of Boo Bits was great, And it really showed that if they'd stuck to it, they could have made this amazing. Instead, they went back and rewatched all their own episodes and recorded commentary, thereby cannibalizing themselves to keep their Patreon running. And I think that makes their legacy a little disappointing. A lot of them went on to do bigger and better things as individuals. You know, a lot of them are voice actors now, and that is amazing and impressive, and I wish them well. I mean, you know, they'll never hear or see this, so it's just a bummer, because I think that what we saw was great. What they could have done could have been legendary. Last DBZ question, and then we're going to try something new. User Darth Azazoth says, how do you think Toriyama's death will affect the writing going forward? Do you think we'll see more non-Saiyan fighters, for example? What about a female main character? So I'm not going to speculate on what we will see or whatever. I'm just going to say I think it's going to be weird. Toyotaro Sensei isn't quite ready to step into Toriyama Sensei's shoes, but he's clearly a very creative guy. I think he's going to work with Bird Mountain Studios, Fuji TV, whoever, as best as possible to create the best story. And one thing I know that is going to happen, and I'm already disappointed by it, is that people are going to say, this isn't what Toriyama would have wanted. And that is a very dangerous thought process. Because none of us know that. If you don't like something that comes out, that's fine. Just say it, right? I don't like the direction Toyotaro is going. Cool. But I think it's going to be a dangerous thing to use Toriyama Sensei as a shield for that. Because the truth is, none of us know what Toriyama wrote. None of us know about the scribbles that he'd had planned or a conversation he had with Toyotaro over beers or something like that. And we don't know how much of it is what. So we shouldn't make assumptions. And I think we should just go into the future of Dragon Ball with an open mind and a willingness to see something new. It will probably be the best thing for the series, I think, if we do that. Okay, here are some Naruto hot takes and discussions. I am less knowledgeable than I am about Dragon Ball, but someone asked for Naruto stuff, and it shocked me so much that I decided to give it a try. So here's to you, that one guy. This is the same thing. I subscribed to our Naruto subreddit just for this and grabbed some questions. I don't own any Naruto games, and if I did, I would suck at them as much as I suck at Xenoverse 2. So you're just going to keep seeing Xenoverse footage. User Virtuous's question is, what's everyone's opinion about Tenten? My opinion about Tenten is that Tenten makes me sad. Tenten's skill is that Tenten never misses. Unfortunately, that is a very stupid skill in a world like Naruto, where people are faster and better and can create alternate realities, and it just sets you up for being dwarfed. For anyone who doesn't know, maybe my younger listeners, dwarfing is a term that came from Star Trek, where Security Officer Worf, who was supposed to be really physically powerful, would constantly get his ass kicked to show how strong the opposing forces were. The intent was to show the strength of the enemy, but the impact was it made Worf look like a wimp. And that's pretty much what happens to Tenten. Like a lot of the other ninja, unfortunately. I think she just kind of fades into the background, and all she has is that she never misses. But because everyone's stronger than Tenten, Tenten misses a lot. I purposely said Tenten as many times as possible during that, so I hope we enjoyed it. User Shintaro Mid 6267 says, so when is Kakashi Hatake having a wife? So I do not know if it was intentional, but I personally love the idea of Kakashi being a little bit of ace pride. It would be great if he were Arrow Ace. I think it makes it funnier that he's always reading Icha Icha Paradise. And it also could bring dimensions to it, right? Like first could just be that it is good writing, right? Jiraiya, if anyone doesn't know, Jiraiya is revealed to be writing the somewhat pornographic series that Kakashi is always reading when he's not paying attention to whatever he's supposed to be doing. And he's making bank on it. So I mean, maybe he's just a really good writer, right? It's like reading those smutty romance books, even if you're not interested in romance. Maybe it's just good. I don't know. Like, the books apparently sell well enough, and maybe it's just his way of supporting Jiraiya. But here's my dumbass fan theory. Maybe reading the Icha Icha Paradise series is a way of turning the sage's obsession trope on its head. So let me explain, because I think this is interesting. So in a lot of Eastern mythology, sages, and I'm using sage to mean like an elder, not the type of sage that's used in Naruto with the chakras and stuff. Sages are always cursed with some kind of obsession or a vice. Like, you might have an ancient elder who's always drinking or always gambling, and that actually explains the 3 sages in Naruto. Like, that's what they're supposed to be representing. And, we've seen Master Roshi, who's supposed to be a great sage, but huge pervert. So, in a sense, this is supposed to be the price that they pay for their brilliance and also their weakness. What I think is interesting is, what if Kakashi purposely chose that as an outward obsession or an outward vice, so that if someone were to ever try to use it against him, it just wouldn't work? Because he's ace, has no interest in it. I don't know. It just really struck me as an interesting way that Kakashi might just be gaming the system, which I think works for his type of character. And last one for today. User first interview 8698 says, who do you consider to be the best sense in Naruto? I think they mean sensei. And then there's a picture of some of the teachers. Having been a teacher for about 6 years myself, I feel pretty comfortable that the best teacher in Naruto, the series, is Iruka Sensei. And that's because when the series starts, it seems like the instruction was to ignore Naruto, and even the Hokage turned his back on him. But Iruka Sensei refused to let him eat alone. He treated him like a person. He was always there for him in any way that he could be. And I think that without Iruka Sensei, there wouldn't be a series. Naruto would have just left the village and fallen into nothing. And I think the village would have just let that happen. And we can only imagine, what kind of shit would have gone down in that instance. And I mean, if Naruto wasn't there, like, who would Sasuke's first kiss be? Sakura? Unforgivable. Okay, everyone, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. What are your takes on my take? Did I get anything wrong? Should I stay out of Naruto in general in the future? Should I expand to other anime and manga? Leave me a comment for the algorithm and an upvote if you don't mind. Don't forget I have a Ko-Fi. You could donate to it. And also subscribe if you haven't already. Oh, and look forward to Nerd News next week. That's a thing I'm doing. One person seemed to like it, so. Until next time, thank you so much for falling upside up with me. It's the best way to fall down. Go eat a graham cracker.